So, normally, what I hear a lot of and what we do, and I've done it myself as well, we just sort of decide, okay, I'm good to go. I am going to make some changes. I'm going to be good. I'll start Monday. I'm going to cut my calories. I go to the gym, start working out. I'm going to stop snacking. I'm going to work more. I'm going to drink more water, get to sleep earlier. And we try to muster up as much motivation as we can, and we throw everything at it all at once. New routines, we do new food rules, new exercise all at once. And usually, what happens in that situation is that it's too hard and we fizzle out. We feel exhausted, and it's not just the physical exhaustion of managing all this extra activity and the change in foods, but it's also the mental exhaustion of feeling like we're on all the time trying to make better choices. And then we quietly go, okay, this whole thing needs to be put back into the too hard basket. And it maybe can revisit at another time where everything's running smoothly in my life, which I will tell you generally doesn't happen. Or you decide, I'll just deal with that when I have to, when, the next holiday comes up or Christmas comes around and I want to feel and look better in my clothes. But going to flip that, because that is a very common process that people do approach with increasing their wellness. So today I wanted to look at, well, what if instead of pushing ourselves from a space of low energy and trying to make all of these changes that leads to overwhelm, instead, that we first focused on increasing our energy, and then we used that energy to make better choices, to move more, and to get the results and all the benefits that we want. So, thinking about energy first, weight loss second. That's what we're talking about today. So, when we tried to change everything at the one time, and what happens is that we're going to fall into firstly that decision fatigue. You're going to have a bunch of questions that you're going to need a new answer for throughout the day. So you start asking things like, what can I eat? When can I eat? Is this allowed? Have I drunk enough water? When am I going to exercise? Is that enough exercise? Every decision costs mental energy. And by 3 p.m., usually, that's when our brain is like done. And that's when we just sort of go, oh, I just need a pick me up after all of this thinking and fatigue. And that's when we can fall into some poor habits. The physical fatigue, going from little movement into big workouts most days. And then we tend to feel that we need to hit the workout so hard and not include rest and recovery days. And then also, if you're cutting out calories and being quite restrictive as well, your body has less fuel to repair that rebuild. And if you're listening to this, you're probably thinking, well, Snedge, that's what we do want. We want the deficit. And that's true. We do want a deficit. But what ends up happening when we increase our activity too quickly and then we cut calories and food groups at the same time, you just don't give yourself the nutrients to recover adequately. And then you start to feel sore, you start to feel tired, flat, low motivation, and not energized at all. And then there's the emotional fatigue of having layered all of this guilt and pressure on top of having to do everything just perfectly, or the minute that you step off this plan that you've created for yourself, you feel like you've stuffed up again. And that emotional load is quite heavy. It makes the whole thing feel more like punishment rather than an exciting journey that you want to wake up for. So, of course, you do start to fizzle out. And then we tell ourselves that we don't have enough willpower, or that this isn't something that we can achieve, when actually you're just running on empty and trying to keep pushing yourself forward. So then, if we think about, well, what can we do to increase our energy levels? And let's think about simple changes, simple behavioral changes, little hacks that we can do that are going to give ourselves a little bit more energy. Because when we have more energy and when we start with more energy, you naturally feel more determined. You feel more hopeful, like you actually have a handle on it, like you can actually do this. You start moving your body more because it feels easier, and you don't feel like you're dragging yourself around. And then also cooking. half decent meals feels achievable instead of like, oh, I just can't be bothered. Just, swing in and get takeaway on the way out or some quick sort of processed options from the supermarket. So you have more patience with yourself, you start to make better decisions, and it all comes together a lot easier. And the behaviors that give you energy, which is really interesting. So if we're focusing on, let's just change those behaviors that give you energy are also the behaviors that are going to increase your health, help with weight loss. So, but the mindset is coming from a completely different space. You're not punishing yourself and pushing hard. Instead, you're sort of nourishing your way into a higher energy state, which then brings that motivation to change. So, let's have a look at what are six simple habits that we can start as of today that are going to help to give you more energy and motivation that comes as a result of just feeling more energized. The first one we need to start here is sleep. And I know that with myself completely, I do a lot in a day, working on lots of different things. If I don't have good quality sleep, I just feel like I'm not coping in my life. And that's something that we can definitely help ourselves with quite simply. And that is trying to get better quality sleep. A lot of the times, that is actually just being in bed for longer periods of time, stopping some of the habits that lead to poor sleep. I know that for some of the listeners, sleep may be a challenge, but I would be looking at, rather than trying to exercise and do all these things, let's have a look at what's causing those challenges to sleep. So maybe just going to bed at the same time each night, or giving yourself a wind down routine, putting phones away, all that sort of stuff, making sure that we're not saying to ourselves, oh, let me just do this one extra job around the house or with work or check that last email, that then all of a sudden puts you into putting yourself to bed even later. Or maybe you want to do something like a calming activity before you go to sleep, like a shower or some stretches or reading a book that's more calming, some deep breathing. So that's number one, is the sleep side of it. Number two is the food, making sure that you are eating enough at meal times, eating the right combination of foods. Also, making sure that you're not over consuming at nighttime, which is going to impact your sleeping as well. But the biggest thing is that a lot of people, especially women, are walking around, if they are trying to get healthier, they're underfueled. They might have a tiny breakfast, a light lunch, and then they're starving and raiding the pantry when they get home and at night time. And this pattern really affects your energy levels. So rather than trying to eat really small, let's try to make sure that we've got enough protein on our plate, making sure we've got fruit or veg or fiber. And is that quantity of food going to keep you comfortably satiated and give you the energy and the nutrients for 3 to 4 hours? Because when your meals are satisfying and they've got the right balance of protein and veg, fiber, and healthy fats, your blood sugar levels are a lot steadier. Your brain has fuel and your energy becomes more stable across the day. And that makes every other change feel so much like less of a battle. Number three is movement, and this is going to be gentle movement. This is movement for energy and not to punish yourself because you feel like you've overeaten or eaten the wrong things. So instead of going from 0 to 5 intense workouts a week, what if you said to yourself, look, I'm just going to go for a walk 10 to 15 minutes a day, or I'm going to do some gentle movement at home for 10 to 15 minutes of some basic body weight strengthening exercises. And movement done correctly is going to give you energy. It pumps blood around your body, it lifts your mood, it stimulates some happy hormones, and it also clears your head. And if your workouts are leaving you feeling just exhausted for days after, you're probably doing too much or just too much too soon for where your body is right now. So, movement is definitely going to increase your energy levels. Number four is also saying no at times to protecting your energy. So, you may find that as you start to say no and start to take on less and create some space, you're going to give yourself some mental rest, which does lead to an increase in energy levels because we are always processing. And when we can reduce the amount of things that we have to do in a day, then we can make better choices and we feel more invigorated because we feel like we have a handle on things. Number five is hydration. It is super important to make sure that we hydrate our bodies, especially first thing in the morning. So make sure that you have a nice big glass of water, maybe even two, first thing in the morning. And then also throughout the day. So you may have another glass of water around morning tea time or just before, the same at lunch, afternoon, and then dinner time, and then again before bed. And all of a sudden, you start adding up these cups of water. But because being even mildly dehydrated can make you feel tired, headachy, a little bit foggy, which then makes you reach for more coffee and sugar and leads to poorer choices. So, a simple water routine is going to really help to contribute to those energy levels. And then number six is making sure that we are avoiding sugar and heavily processed foods and overeating. So, with this step here, it's very much about understanding the impact and the cost of firstly over consuming, because the body all of a sudden has to redirect energy and blood flow to other parts of the body and in your digestive system rather than using those resources to fuel your day and your thought process and your activity levels. So, making sure that we're not overeating and making sure that we are not eating a lot of heavily processed and high sugar foods throughout the day is going to remove uh, the burden of digestion in your body that is does definitely contribute to lower energy levels. And I was only just recently speaking to someone who'd made a significant shift in the sort of foods that they were having and the quantity because they were eating more frequent meals with protein and the fiber and all of that. And they commented on how significantly different their energy levels were, and they just felt like they had so much energy. So there you have it. Taking an approach where we are thinking about not necessarily making all of these changes to try and shift weight and increase our health, but instead take some of those small tips to increase your energy levels. Because when we stop trying to change our bodies from a place of exhaustion and start from a place of energy, the whole journey feels completely different. It's a lot more sustainable and you will definitely achieve the results that you are after.